if you had an outlet in which you talk openly with men and stuff that doesn't like with other friends in which you're not being judged, it will do a lot of help, right? You don't need a therapist, I'm sorry, in my opinion. Like, especially I don't need a therapist to prescribe me drugs.
Welcome back, everybody, to the DC Talks podcast. We have a very special episode today. We have Elise in this episode.
Hi, guys.
You know, whenever Elise is on the show, it's always a straight banger. She adds a different perspective, makes the conversation a lot more fun. And we thought for this specific topic, talking about masculinity, also adding a female perspective will also add to the conversation. Elise, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. DC, how you doing?
Blessed
Hangry.
as always, I guess.
Blessed as always. Amazing.
Isn't that your line? Blessed.
Blessed as always. Because I'll give thanks to God, man. I'm blessed. We woke up. I'm healthy, and etc. So to keep things moving right along, discussing masculinity, this thing has changed over the years as things have gone by. People define masculinity differently. What traditional masculinity was defined as is no longer defined the same way. And what does masculinity mean in 2025? And it takes a lot of different shapes and forms. And we have a view of what masculinity is. Some people see it as like rough and rugged. But there's also a side of UDC where you see men can also have a vulnerable side where they can share their feelings, which is typically looked down upon. And also, at least speaking from the female side, what women deem as masculine and some...
What women want.
What women want.
What women want.
What women say they want in public, but in reality, this is what's the best for them for having like a household that will raise a healthy family. So to kick things off, what does traditional masculinity mean to you, DC? And then we're going to go to you, Elise.
I always think of like traditional masculinity would be like, you know, just the dad going off to work and working hard and coming back and just
like provider
and sitting at home and disciplining his children and, you know, being like basically what you say like hero wise, you know, basically that's all the things that, you know, any kind of protection he needed, anytime he needs some money, all that stuff too he was the go-to source. To me, that's masculine, you know, and being forceful. Like when you come in, I see somebody as masculine as a bigger
authority,
right? Like not cowering in, having authority, standing up. Like you can be masculine, but like be small in stature, but have a presence of you, and it shows you like
a confidence.
Like that I'm a man. This is what I do.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Elise, what is that 100%. Traditional masculinity mean to you?
So definitely a protector, a provider, someone that you know is going to take care of your family no matter what. Obviously, there's a financial aspect of it. You want to be taken care of. But there's also a spiritual aspect. There's an emotional aspect. Like you want someone to be there for you on all counts. So definitely, I think in today's society, that's not the case. And people are, some women are settling for a lot less than what they should be. But definitely just, in my view, someone that can take care of the family in all aspects.
Take care of the family. So you are married, right? You have a young son and a young daughter under the age of 5, correct?
Yeah, Riley is 2 and Carter is 3.
For you as a mom raising like your eldest son, how are you teaching
my only son? There's no more kids coming out.
For your only son, how are you teaching him like what it is to be a man? Are you instilling certain values from an early age at this point to be a protector, provider, being strong and everything like that?
So one of the things that my husband does with Carter, actually it's really cute, when he puts him to bed at night, if he's on, like we rotate in the house who's on snuggle duty with Carter. So one of the things Matt does is they do this little mantra, and it goes through his name. It goes, "Hi, I'm Carter James. I am strong, I am confident, I am brave." And he's like really started doing this. And you can see the joy that it brings Carter. Like he loves doing this with his dad. And I think even just saying those words out loud and being very vocal about those things, I think will definitely help him in life. He is 3 years old. So in terms of discipline right now, he's in the stage where he's not listening very well. But kind of just, again, like he is a toddler, so he's picking up on a lot of different things, a lot of different arguments and stuff that are happening. So like with Matt and I, we try very hard not to argue in front of the kids. And if we do, at the end of it, we'll always say, we're sorry. And we'll just like, no, okay, like I'm sorry for yelling at you. Even if I raise my voice at Carter, I will specifically take him aside when I like cool down and say, hey, bud, I'm sorry for yelling at you. This is why I was frustrated. And just kind of instilling those values that like, it's okay to have these bigger emotions, but it's how you deal with it. But not being a granola parent, not gentle parenting by any means, but just knowing that like, it's okay to have these feelings and these emotions, but here's how you regulate them as a man.
That's well put. I like the way you do that.
I'm just thinking of the opposite of like, you remember the Saturday Night skit with with Al Franken, Stuart Smalley.
Stuart Somali?
Stuart Smalley. Do you remember? I'm good enough. I'm strong enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. And he was like,
it's not like that.
Totally opposite of what I consider a masculine man. So when she's saying that stuff, I'm sorry, my 80s brain is popping out. I'm thinking of like,
no, it's super cute. I'll record it for you.
Night
It's
Live.
honestly, it's the cutest thing ever. And like the joy that like Carter just has the biggest
so
smile.
positive reinforcement. I like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you where my brain went because we're talking about masculinity, and then I see this. You know, that's what pops in my head.
Yeah.
So that's sorry. I just had to say that. I was gonna put up my hand. I'm like, okay, I gotta.
You gotta step in.
Gotta interjected.
For those of you guys who used to watch Saturday Night Live when we were kids, like talk about Stuart Smalley, you know what I mean? The funniest was do you remember Michael Jordan on the show? He did the same thing and he tried to break not laughing.
I didn't even see this.
Oh my God, it's right here. It's little. I'll show you that later. I'll show you after the pod. It's
okay.
After the pod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
But DC, what are your thoughts about that? Like, because like you
Thoughts on what? Stuart Smalley?
Not Stuart
He's
Smalley.
not masculine at all.
but the way, because you're like my elder, you're older than me. You've seen
What an asshole. Sorry. Yeah.
I just pay respects, like you've lived life longer than me. You've seen.
Just digging it in there. Hey, we got it. I'm old.
You are a dinosaur. And
Let's say like your big brother, so you've seen more than I have up to this point. How have you seen things evolve? Because you were here before
this year,
before social media, everything took over, and now
we talk about this all the time. The stuff that we grew up with, oh my God, like you guys would die. Like from the stuff like riding bikes without helmets. We used to go like, I remember like my buddy fell down like riding the bike, snapped his hand in half. We just walked him home with his bike and stuff. Our parents didn't know where we were. Like our rule was, as soon as those lights go off, you're like, get your ass home or otherwise you get the beats. That was it. Like as soon as the lights started going, it was dark and my dad didn't know where we were. We'd hear him whistling outside. He had this weird like all of his brothers do. It's this weird whistle. If we didn't come home, we got the beats. And that was like, that's how it worked, right? Like, so that built us stronger. Like I remember going to parent teacher and my parents going to parent teacher interviews and us hiding under the bed because if we did not have a good interview, we were in trouble, right? So you grew like be strong. I remember my dad all the time bringing us to sports stuff too. It was like, and if we weren't good, they would come and talk in the room like, you're going home by yourself today, right? Like that's like there's no way you played like shit. Do you think I'm going to take you home? Like
there's like some toughness.
It was tough love. It was a tough love. And that's why I'm like. So when I see these, like we talked about this last week about the participation ribbons, like that doesn't help you be a man, dude. That everybody gets a participation ribbon. That doesn't help. Like and it makes you very soft. And you need to be like as a masculinity. You have certain roles in which you are supposed to provide. And females have their certain role as well. And to think that we're the same is just wrong. It's just not the way that God designed us. And no one is more important than the other because without females, we would not exist. Without males, we wouldn't exist. We have our own part, right? It just makes sense. We are supposed to come together. And it doesn't mean anybody's anybody's different than the other person, more important. But I'm finding when the men become too masculine, whether it's from the food they eat because they're not working out, they die faster, they're more depressed. Nobody's going to want to have sex with you. Like I don't even want to reproduce what you're providing. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, and I can't hear about these women, I don't think no woman wants an effeminate man. I can't say no women. I'm just saying, but I'm saying the average woman wants, there's some part subconsciously wants to be taken care of. Like you said this before, like you are an independent woman. My wife's an independent woman. Like, but she still wants me to take care of her. Like, it's like, there's nothing taken away from her independence. It's not saying she is less of a role. Like there are certain roles in which we all have to play. And I think by not acknowledging that, you're just lying to yourself. There was a question asked to a feminist. I don't think you saw this before, right? And it's like, why there's always women and children first and then the men? And it's like, okay, great. So if somebody came into, to rob a store, right? Would you expect your son to go and tell him to take him down? Like, no. Like, you would expect the mother, if she's there. If you and your husband are in the same situation, if a man walked in and put a gun in your face, like, or said, like, would you want you to take care of it, or would you want your husband, right? Of course. And then at the end of the day, if you could, between God and man, right? If God could come down and strike him down, or you want your husband to take care of it, who would you want to take care of? She goes, of course, take God, because he can do all things. I'm like, well, that's the hierarchy. Like, you just explained, again, I'm paraphrasing for the whole thing, but in their own argument, based on their own knowledge, I'm like, you just gave your own hierarchy. And that shows you there's not, like, a child is not less important than the mother. A mother's not less important than the son, than the father. God is more important than all three, but I'm saying, but because he overshadows everything. But the importance of everybody else, they all have their different roles. And that's what I think, that is the problem with society, because taking away men's masculinity is bullshit, because we still need men to do certain manly things. Like, I think 97% of electricians are men, right? 95% of coal miners are men, right? There's certain jobs in which, like, there's still a big faction of firefighters and police that are still men. When people go to war, like, this is the other thing. Feminists are all feminists, and so, like, people start to get drafted, and they're like, oh no, like, there's the whole thing, like, I'm let the men go. Like, there's been a definite shift. We've seen that lately, because there might be a draft coming in, and we've seen online. I don't know if you guys have seen this too, but online there's a lot of feminists saying, like, oh no, we're not going to war.
I'm not doing that.
Like, what happened to toxic masculinity?
Exactly.
What happened to those men taking care of you? It's okay to send them to war, but everything on the right here, like, they don't matter. When they're here, their masculinity all of a sudden becomes toxic.
Exactly. Like, even to you, Elise, like, would you send Carter or
Don't ask me that.
or Riley to, like, a all male daycare, like guys taking care of kids? Would you do that?
If I knew the people and I knew, like, the family dynamic, if I had known them and I trust them, I don't care if you're a male or female raising my kid. But if I would have to know them. I wouldn't just, like, have one interview and be like, yeah, you can watch my kids, no problem. Like, it has to be a
I find that
relationship
difficult. I'm sorry. I find that females are much more nurturing and patient, especially with my child when they were at a younger age.
I would say Matt's a lot more patient with the kids than I am, to be perfectly honest.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you get a one-off. I'm saying, but that's a majority of the situations.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I find, like, that's with one child, one-on-one. What if you put in 15 of them? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yes and no.
Matt might be more Matt might be more patient with your child, but throw another 15 kids that aren't his, I don't know how patient he'd be.
Oh no,
you know what I mean?
Same. Like, I couldn't run a daycare; I'd lose my fucking mind.
But I also think it takes a certain person to run a daycare and run it successfully.
Yeah, but I don't think that necessarily has to be a woman in that aspect.
Sure, I would agree with that.
I don't.
But I find that,
like, there are some women that cannot take care of children, should not have had children,
Absolutely.
and they try to take care of children and they fail miserably.
And there's some men who should never reproduce.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're talking
Generalizing, like you walk into a daycare, it's all guys. This is a daycare you've never heard about, and then you go to, like, a daycare with all women. As a guy, I'd be like, I want to be my kid with a daycare with all the women, just because there's a lot more of a softer tone with it. Like, with guys, I'm like, what do you know about taking care of a baby? You know what I mean? And especially as a toddler. That's where I was asking you this question, like, which one would you be more comfortable with? Because I
would have to vet the people entirely. Like, we were on waiting lists for daycares with the kids for, like, many months, and barely got calls back, to be honest, because daycare situation's a mess. But besides the point, and they're in a home daycare now. And the only reason they're in a home daycare is because I grew up with the lady that runs it. Her daughter and I were best friends all up until high school, until they moved to Keswick, and we lost touch. And I know how she was with me as a kid when I would go over to their house and she would take care of us. So that is the only reason why I trust the home daycare. But it, like, her husband's there, like, I trust her husband. Like, it has, like, there's no, like, to me, it doesn't matter if they're a male or female in that aspect, taking care of the kids. It's that I can trust you with my kid. So to answer your question, if I walked into a daycare and I saw 3 women versus 3 men, it makes no difference. I'm gonna vet the shit out of all of them. So I don't care.
That's an interesting take.
Like there are men that can be amazing fathers, and women that can be terrible mothers, right? Like you see stories of mothers that have like killed their kids or whatever the case may be. And yes, fathers have done the same thing, but a dad, like if he's a good dad, he's a good dad. If he can take care of kids, he can take care of kids. I don't think that has a gender role.
Got you. Let's talk about this toxic masculinity, because it's something that started the past 10 years.
Yeah. So
Like, what does
do
that
you know?
even
Do you
mean?
know where the term came from? Right.
Like, where did it come from?
So the term masculinity, and I'm just going to Google this to make sure. So from what my understanding is, I'll double research on this, but it was a term. It was only used, I think, in an article, and this guy was writing an article based on inmates, and when there was there's a lot of men in there been in this prison sentence, and there's just too much masculinity. They were causing fights. That's what he called toxic masculinity. It was never supposed to be rolled out to the public. It's not a real term. And somebody, I think, took it, and then they started pertaining to just regular masculinity and started calling it toxic. So I'll give you an example, like Andrew Tate, right? Andrew Tate, people call him, some people like mine now, they're like, that's toxic masculinity. I'm like, well, what's toxic about it? And what he talks about is the roles of men. And I'm like, but what's toxic about it, right? The toxic masculinity was more of like when it was against men on men fighting and killing each other. That's what he was referring to. And he's like, well, you don't like the things he's saying about masculine. Is like, you should be a man. You should wake up, take care of your children. You smoke cigars, be a man. You should never have a hangover.
shape.
Don't talk to me about this cortisone bullshit. You're not supposed to drink coffee. I drink coffee the first thing in the morning and I have a shot. And that's what he was saying. I'll have a cigar. Fuck this toxic masculinity. And he was just like, he was going off, and I'm like, it's kind of funny, I was saying, but it's not like a life food. But he was trying to be overly masculine. Overly masculine is not toxic masculinity. We don't agree with everything Andrew Tate says. Some stuff I find is funny. Some stuff he's not wrong about. Like,
true.
Did you see his conversation with Bonnie Blue? I was laughing for half of that.
I actually saved it because I'm like, I'm gonna watch it later.
Yeah,
I just haven't had time to check it out.
I watched bits and pieces of it too. But he's explaining. He goes, and a toxic masculinity would be like him putting her down. He's like, he goes, listen. He goes, you've evolved. You're an evolved woman. He said to her, and he's like, well, he goes, well, there's people getting nailed in the back of a bar for free. You're like, at least you put money on it. You're making money out of it. It's like, sure, you had sex with 1,057 men, but you got paid for it. And you're doing men to society by, you got the rocks off. They're not going to kill themselves. And I'm like, oh my God. I think he was doing it obviously to be funny, but
Yeah, he's being sarcastic.
He was being sarcastic. Yeah, but it's noticing the different, there's nothing toxic about being masculine, right? And I think that the problem I thought with the people, it affects the feminists in the sense that like, well, you're not agreeing with me, like you're not being soft and touchy and stuff. But then we've talked about this before. There's those videos where like these feminists talked about how they really want a conservative man. They didn't think they wanted to that girl on a date. She goes, I was trying not to like him, but he paid for a drink and then he took care of me. He opened the door.
He walked on the other side of the sidewalk.
The other side of the sidewalk. And it's like, those are things I tell my daughters. This is what you're looking for. A man is walking on the street. He should be protecting you. If a man walks on the wrong side of the street with you, if you're in touch with like in front of like the traffic, don't date that boy. Like you might have to teach him. Like
now I gotta go see how we walk. I think he walks on the street.
Even when you sit in a restaurant too, like, are you facing the door? Because
I always face the door.
Face the door.
I hate having my back. My wife, we argue about it all the time. I'm like, I want to see what's going on, but sometimes I have to give in. I'm like, it's my nature. I hate having my back. In case somebody walks in, I want to be able to protect people. I always need to see what's going on in the rest of the situation. In case not to say there's a threat, but you just never know, right? So but that's ingrained in us. But
But I was going to say, like, do you feel like there's a pressure to suppress those instincts now?
Absolutely.
And where's this coming from?
And the other thing is like, the other thing I hated about this, we were talking about before, like always having men cry and stuff. And then you hear all these people, these girls online going, God, my boyfriend just won't shut up. He just keeps crying all the time. I'm like,
I need to interject.
Which one is it?
So as
What
a
is being
person,
vulnerable?
as someone that's been with someone for 11 years, when your partner when your man cries in front of you, I think there's a time and a place for it, but being vulnerable with you in that moment and trusting you enough to say like, hey, yeah, I'm a man, but you know what? I still feel things. I have emotions. And right now I'm upset. I'm hurt. I think that showing that is a good thing. However, if your emotions are up and down constantly and you're all over the place, I'm going to take it like you're PMSing, and you should date a woman in that sense. Because like vulnerability is attractive. Being able to be open with your partner and being upset about something and telling them your feelings about it, I think is a good thing. I think when it teeters the line is when it's all over the place and you're up here one day, you're down here one day. Being open and communicating and upfront and yeah, okay, you cry, cool. Like I cry too, but like showing that to you, I think is an attractive quality.
Of course, but so we also hear about these guys like have now turned completely off because it's like when I showed my vulnerable side,
She lost all attraction.
she lost her attraction and they kept bringing it back up.
Yeah, but see that's
also
not,
that's a toxic relationship.
yeah,
in
that's
general.
a toxic. That's not a woman.
But you'd be surprised, Elise, how many times that happens. So there's one guy I remember I was watching online. He's like, my dad told me one thing always. He goes, if you need to cry, it was a comedian. He goes, cry in the, like it was Tom Segura.
Cry in the other room.
Oh no, it wasn't
Or,
Tom.
like,
It was the machine and what's his name? Kreischer, Bert Kreischer. And he's like, and this is the way we were taught to. Is if you need to cry in a different room. Like my dad used to cry in front of us. My dad wasn't like that. He was very emotional. I tell my kids all the time, I don't think there's anything wrong. I hug and kiss my kids. I tell them every day, I love you. I know, Dad. I'm like, no, I love you. Motherfucker, I love you. And I would say that. And I also tell my friends, I don't think there's anything, I think it's owning your emotions about it too. I tell both of you guys how much I love you guys. And I think, and there's another topic I'll talk. There's some on the side note where other people don't understand that, but we'll talk about that sidebar. I don't want to call anybody else out. But I don't think that's showing me that I'm not masculine. I'm manning up to my emotions.
Yeah,
I'm telling the people that
control
I
owning your truth.
emotions.
Whereas in the past, masculine would like you don't show any feelings except anger. The only exactly, you're stoic. The only emotion you're allowed to show is anger. And I know that the older generation found that was powerful. I think it's stupid because it's like I think like Lee says, by showing your emotions, saying I have different range.
Yeah, being
And it
able
says,
to control
if
your
I'm-
emotions.
Exactly. If I'm angry at you, and if I'm always angry, we had this with our coach, right? We had a coach. He'd come in, he's always yelling at us. We're like, it lost its meaning. He'd come in and we're like, we were up 5-0 one time. He yelled at us, don't take your foot off the gas. He come and ask, we're like, we just scored 5 goals. Like we're up 5-0. And you're like, and you're yelling at us? Fuck off. So it didn't mean anything to us anymore, right? But if you're kind of like normal, like if I'm like, when I get mad at you and I'm angry, like I'm never, when I get angry, you've hardly ever seen me angry, but when you do see me angry, it means something. And I think that doesn't take away from your masculinity. It shows a different range, right? But there are a faction of ladies, maybe females or men that feel that their women take advantage of them when they do show vulnerability, and they have to be the old school stoic stance, and that's not right.
And that
Yeah, but
causes
then I
resentment.
would say that that's not a real woman. If a real woman can't be there for you through thick and thin and validate your feelings and your emotions, then like I don't think she's playing the role of a woman. Like you should be nurturing, you should be understanding, you should be like, again, there's a time and a place. Like if your boyfriend or your husband or whoever is with you at a funeral and he's crying, granted, of course, I don't think you need to hide that. But if you guys are having an argument at a restaurant and he starts crying, people are going to look at you like,
Like, why are you crying?
But here's the
What
thing:
is
is
this?
like, I wanted to talk about a little bit about this. So we're talking about last month, right? We're in July now, right? Right? July. Well, the time of the recording, we're
June
still in June.
25th.
Yeah, but no, that's the time of the recording.
The
But,
time of-
but when this
it's
gets airs,
posted,
it'll be in
July.
So July is known as what month?
Canada Day month?
No, dumbass. June. Sorry, June. What is June?
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, June.
Pride
So I'm the
Month.
dumbass. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you it.
I was like,
June.
July
It's Pride.
is not anything.
But do you know what else it is? It's men's health.
Mental health
Mental health
awareness.
awareness. Where have
never-
you seen anything on mental health for men? Where is this? Like, so all of a sudden, like, sure, we can talk about the LGBT, like they overpower, but like even this year, it's not as much of the pride stuff, which is fine with me. But where's the advocates for men's mental health? I only found out about it because I saw somebody post that. I'm like, really? June is men's mental health?
Yeah,
I had
it's been
no
for
idea.
a long
I had
no idea. When you think of June, what month it is? It's Pride Month. You don't think of
I just
mental
think it's
health.
summer, finally. Personally.
But I'm just saying for like months dedicated to something else, you don't think it's dedicated to men's health, and that's a problem, right? So because of the masculine, because of the facade and the whatever's happening, like men have told like to hide what they're believing and like what they're feeling, and that's why we need to have more advocates. Over 80% of suicides are from men, right? 80%. So to say that it's not, that should be an epidemic. There should be much more advocacies for men and men's health, like to help them out. Like, it's okay. Like, sometimes you do have to let emotions out, talk to them. Like there has to be avenues out, and antidepressants aren't the answer. Did you know antidepressants cause more people to get violent and suicidal after 5 years of use? Yeah. Like, it's not supposed to be a long-term solution. It's a Band-Aid. All those kids that just shut up the schools and things like that, all were on antidepressants. They all had murderous suicide. My buddies, like my friends and I, that I know that we've unfortunately committed suicide, we're all on some sort of antidepressants. They stopped working. All of your celebrities that have committed suicide that you know about, the ones that weren't murdered, we'll talk about that. I still think Chris Cornell was murdered. I still believe that Chester Bennington was murdered.
Even Kobe Bryant.
Anyway, Kobe Bryant was definitely murdered, but that wasn't suicide. That was an accident.
Tangent.
What's that?
I said tangent.
Tangent, yeah. Anyway, my point is that even those guys were on antidepressants at some point. Like, they're like, and I know people, it's not a popular belief, but you do got to get back to your faith. That's the only thing I've heard of people actually say. Like, putting drugs into your system, I don't care what it is not going to help with mental health. It masks it. And then all it's going to do is, if it does help with mental health, it's going to lead to some sort of side effect. And that's where the pharmaceutical company comes in, and they just keep feeding you stuff. This Western world of this pharmaceuticals is not the way we're supposed to live life.
So on that note, with men's mental health, do you think that more men should be going to therapy? Should be going to
I don't think therapy works.
Ooh, so, yeah, this is interesting.
I actually think the most therapists are so fucked up that most therapy, I think therapy is bullshit. I went through it with my brother. We went through this stuff too. The therapies I'm hearing, there are some good therapists out there. Don't get me wrong. But the majority of them, they're what I've noticed when I've had the conversation with some of their friends, they're always placing the blame on somebody else. They never reflect back to the person that's actually wrong, that's going through this issue. This happened with my brother too. They blame my mother as a neurotic mother, as opposed to like, no, like my brother and I were saying, no, he's an asshole. Yeah, like he's causing the problem. He's actually the problem. No, it's your mother. Like, and I'm still seeing that. So they're placing blame not where it's belonging, and they're shirking it to somebody else. How many people do you know have been in therapy have ever been cured? There was one guy going around with podcasts. He was outside the psychology, like the department, like all these psychiatrists come around. Like, how many people have you cured? They start laughing like, we don't really care. We help people. I'm like, well, how many patients have you helped that they don't need your therapy anymore? Well, no, that's not the point of therapy.
I think it's more so just about having an outlet of someone who is unbiased and will sit there and listen to you.
Right. I was saying, that's true. If you want to go for that, but don't like for the cure of therapy, I think if you don't have,
I'm not saying for a cure.
I think a lot of times if you have a forum in which you can talk and be open about your emotions and think about it without being judged in front of your partner or somebody else you trust, helps a lot more than going to a psychiatrist and a psychologist. Do you know how many of those guys are like, we know them, they're all fucked up. They're on their own forms of antidepressants.
Right. But sometimes men don't have the tools to properly communicate with their spouse or their whatever, and
go to a coach and figure that out. Talk to, like, you know what I mean?
Form
like,
a group of guy friends.
There's exactly.
Yeah, because you guys are going to sit around and sip tea and talk about your feelings.
No,
it's not drinking beer and tequila and talk about emotions.
Hey, you smoke cigars. That's actually like, you smoke cigars, you talk about things like, yo, listen, I'm going through this.
Did you know
with my
for
wife.
mental health, there's a study saying that men should be going out with their boys 2 to 4 times a week for mental health.
Even like joining things like sports.
Like, you run that by Nat?
I don't have anything wrong with my mental health. I'm already crazy. Like, but no, but there were studies showing that, like, the men. So I think
there should be, you should be able to have time with your girls, but I think that inherently girls are going to talk more about their feelings and talk more things about the relationship versus men. Like, you guys are going to sit in the corner.
But men, if you get close enough, you have somebody who's able, you're open up to, you get close to it, you do find out more about them. It does happen.
I don't think to the extent of women.
My point was, if you had an outlet in which you talk openly with men and stuff, that doesn't, like with other friends in which you're not being judged, will do a lot of help. Right? You don't need a therapist. I'm sorry, in my opinion. Like, and especially I don't need a therapist to prescribe me drugs. Okay. So, and also I know this sounds backwards, but like not backwards, but ancient. Praying helps. Your brain cannot feel, it can't feel grateful and sorrow at the same time. It can't feel those emotions. So if you're feeling anxiety, like there is something, and I talked about over and over again, or last episode, I said, it was an unpopular opinion. That book is not a book. That Bible has healing powers. rely on God. And it's not easy. I'm not saying people don't have addictions. Listen, we're not even talking about addictions. Addictions is a different story, but the Bible does help with that too. But if you're just talking about like mental health and emotions, the drugs only mask your mental health for a certain period of time, and then it gets worse. Or you've seen kids, like you said, kids on ADHD, like they become like you said, robots. Like it's unbelievable how bad these psychedelic medications what they can do to you and how they can wreak havoc on you. There has to be a natural way for men to be able to get through mental health without pumping drugs into your system. Or talking to somebody who's making money off of you and like who doesn't want to cure you. I'm sorry, it's not a popular opinion and I know there's going to be psychiatrists like, we do a good job. I'm like, yeah, there are some psychiatrists and some psychologists that do a fantastic job. I'm just saying from the majority, from the people I've seen before, there's not a lot of them. And there are a couple of friends that they actually have good ones. I'm like, that's amazing. Like they have some good. And if you find a good one,
stick
with them, right? But they're not all great.
I know you had some points to share, Lisa.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, obviously I'm not in the dating world, but some friends and family are. What do you think, men or women paying for the first date, 50-50? How are we splitting it? What are we doing?
So I'm on the side of, I was dating the past 2 months until now I got in a relationship. Woo! But yeah, clap,
She's great, by the way.
She's great, thanks. She met DC and the whole family on the minus Elise. I know Elise was busy, but during the Father's Day event. But I'm the advocate. If I'm asking you out, especially if I'm interested in you and I'm looking to court you, I'm going to take care of the first date. I think the struggle comes where women who are sort of independent, they're in the working world and the corporate side of things, where they're always putting themselves first in that situation. Even though they advocate for those things, I think in the dating context, they still like that feeling of being taken out and being like a girl. 100%, right? Oh. So I think there's always an internal strife where I think men and women are fighting for what is my role, your role. And then in one aspect, they want to play my role. So I think where a lot of men struggle is like, okay, you want me to play this role. I want you to play this role. But when I'm asking you to play the natural role of like the same way I'm a guy asking you out and paying for dinner, now it's a problem.
Do you find that females, the problem with accepting somebody, taking them out for a date, then there's a level of expectations for sexual favors afterwards, and that's the problem? Like a lot of times feel like an independent woman say, no, we're going to split 50-50 and I can choose what I want to do.
That's a great point, because I think it limits the pressure of you wanting to take this girl home and like, just enjoying that.
Because I'll be honest, it's like, well, why would I pay for a girl? Like I've heard this before, this argument, like, and these guys are no longer masculine. We're going for a coffee. I'm like, I'm not wasting money on this. And I'm not getting
that's the problem.
That's a huge.
So I think that if a guy isn't paying on the first date, it's a red flag. Sorry. If you're trying to build a relationship with that person and build a rapport with that person, if they're not providing for you at the very first get-go of meeting you, a first impression says everything. If they're not paying for your date, whatever the case may be, later down the road, you're in a relationship, you want to split things 50-50, you want him to pay for whatever.
Yeah, that's nice.
But the very first date, absolutely not. If the man is courting you, the man asks you out, the man pays. I don't give a shit. Like that's a red flag.
But you have some women too, like offer to pay for the bill. I think also dating has
but I think that offering versus like actually paying for it are two different things. Like I think it's nice as a woman wants
I'm just
to
traditional.
Offer,
I think men should pay for it. I'm sorry. I think it doesn't matter what situation. And if the female, even if a girl asks me out, like say like in this day and age, I'm like, oh shit, I've been married for 17 years. It's not going to happen. You want to ask me out, lady? Let's go. No. If I was single and somebody was asking me for a date, I still feel obligated. I want to pay. I'm like, we go out, like I still pay sometimes. We go out for, in events where our friends has asked us out, and I'm like, I'm still paying. I'm like, you don't have to. I'm like, no, we invited you. I'm like, I feel as a man, I'm like, no, I want to pay. I want to provide for you.
It's instinctive.
So I just wouldn't feel comfortable, even if if I was dating a girl asked me out, I'm like, oh, how'd you feel better? You found me cute? I'm like, great. I'm going to reciprocate and say, okay, well then I'll take you for dinner. Like, that's nice, But I think the whole masculine thing, there's who was I talking to about? I remember it was one of our friends, and they were saying how bad it is in the dating world now with these men, and first of all, little boy, like guys under 40 in their 30s still, the mid 30s are little boys.
Yeah, living at home.
Like that's a problem too. So is that masculine or is that just being a little boy? Like, what's the difference? Like a little boy, like still living with his parents, like in his 30s, 72, like has no idea how to handle a woman, like at all, doesn't pay for anything, right? And it's just, that's going out. They don't even go for dinners. Like, or like I said, go to date in Starbucks. And I'm like, Starbucks? Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, I can speak. So my cousin told me one story where she was on Hinge or whatever dating app it was, and she met this guy, and right away he invited her over to his house. And I was like, what is your intention there? If you can't afford to take her out, even for a coffee, then why the hell are you talking to
Stay
her?
out of the game.
Exactly.
Stay out of the game.
Like,
well,
leave.
have you heard
Why
this
are you
argument?
here?
I don't agree with this argument. It's like, well, why would I take a girl out when I can just go and pay for a hooker? And like for whatever
It's the
amount
same
of money,
cost.
it's the same cost as me taking her out for dinner. At least I know what I'm getting at the end of it. I'm like, that is disgusting.
That is disgusting.
It is
because
disgusting.
You're not trying to build a relationship with your hooker.
Well, some people do, because there are certain guys that go back to escorts, so they do have a relationship with them. I'm like saying, like,
Yeah, but
it's
those are
weird.
people that
it's weird.
are emotionally unstable and can't
think?
get a regular person to listen to them, and they need to do some deep diving into themselves and figure out why the hell they're like that.
Yeah, no kidding. Sean, why do you go to hookers all the time?
This guy.
I know, but that's with you.
As work towards wrapping up, and this is press for DC as well too, and also for you, Elise. But what is like one thing that we see as what masculine is, what's defined, but what is one thing we can leave people as, where people are feeling, okay, this is toxic masculinity, what they deem as toxic masculinity.
I roll my eyes. So
What
much.
what do we want to debunk that we commonly deem as masculine today, and actually see those as healthy male behaviors, and not look down upon those behaviors when men do them?
I think the only thing for me personally is when men show emotion, when there's a time and a place for it, and your partner's being that open with you and that trusting of you and respectful of you. If you're a woman, you throw that back in their face in an argument, there's something wrong with your brain. I'm sorry. If you think that a human being showing you emotion and showing you how they feel is toxic masculinity, then like rewire your brain, because there's something going on there. Humans have emotion. That's the way we were built. That's the way God made us. That's the way we were designed. And there's a way to go about it. Like, having control over your emotions is a good thing. And I think being a provider and being able to take care of your family, being protective, all of those aspects are good things. And when people say they're not, like, date a woman. Sorry. Like,
I agree.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. Mr. Chinelli.
I just don't believe that. And my one take home is, I agree with most people. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's not a term we should have ever used in everyday life. I believe there's masculine and feminine aspects of people, 100%, but I don't think anything is toxic. I think any kind of emotion you have is God-given. So accept it as thus. If you have a problem with your partner, like Lee said, showing emotions, there might be a problem with you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think my thoughts are, if men play their position, everybody prospers.
Yeah.
Everybody prospers. If I'm a man and I'm taking care of, like, it's going to make you feel feminine. It's going to make you feel soft. It's going to make you feel appreciated. It's going to make you feel loved. And by you doing that, the whole, like, union just works better.
Yeah, I also believe that affects our children as well.
Yeah, they see the healthy relationship.
I think a big portion of the struggles our kids are having, the more mental health problems of, is because there is no definition of what the household is, who's defined the gender roles, etc. I think if we go back to traditional ways, and I am conservative, that's why you can call me a radical, go back to conservative ways, I think a lot of the problems we have with our children will also be dissipated. That includes disciplining your children, teaching your children at home respect, right? I am sorry. I do not agree with putting little Johnny in a corner. Like, you gotta, just be okay. It's okay. Like, mommy doesn't like the fact that you hit her in the face. And I'm like, could you imagine hitting your grandmother in the face with anything? I've seen like that stuff too. I'm like, we would have been black and blue. Okay, granted, we don't have to, like, I don't say we go that far to
behave.
You don't need to beat your kids, but you need to discipline them.
You definitely need to discipline your children.
I think that tough.
If you don't discipline your children, society will. And you're not doing your kids any help, because of helping them, of helping them cheat through anything through life. And that includes, that's a being man in your household saying, like, No, if you didn't make a team, you didn't make a team. I'm not paying for you to get onto a team because I am not paying for your grades. Because when you go to university and mom and dad are going to help you around, like it's not going to help. When you go to get a job and stuff too, like your kids are going to be emotionally depleted or not have a sense of who they are. They're not going to make it far in this world. You have an obligation as parents, father, discipline your children, and mother less so, but still have discipline in your family, but nurture your children to a point where you want them to leave the home at a decent age, not to the point that you're coveting and coddling them until they're in their 40s and 50s. You're not helping them. You're not helping society.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I have a really good verse to end off with, really good Bible verse. It says, Proverbs 16:32, better a patient man than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city.
I always like the one saying about like over and over again in Proverbs, like it's better to live alone than with a brawling woman. Okay, so.
Oh my God.
At least he was out to stir up the pot.
Yeah. And you wonder where the controversy comes from.
Yes. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Engage with us in the comments, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok on the clips here. Let us know what you think.
Let a man be a man.
And let men
Stop
be men. We
settling.
need more men. Make men great again.
Great. That's all we need.
Anyways.
Hey, do you want a hat? Do you want to make it red too? Put on there?
No. All right, everybody. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.